Hey, what is up, mortals? It is TCCrew here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 4 of season 1 of What If Deku Had 3 Wishes. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. Aizawa stood, tiredly, next to a bin of balls as he waited for the students to figure out how to use an exterior door. Every year, his students seem to be getting less and less rational. Hopefully, he won't have the urge to expel the whole class this year. Nezu would get mad if he did that again. So, less sleep this year. But if they have potential, then it will be worth it. Aizawa turned and slightly opened one of his closed eyes as he heard the distinct murmurs of students attempting to be quiet. It would seem the annoyances were arriving. Small groups of students appearing and beginning to gather on the green, grassy area in front of him. It was time to begin. Aizawa began the test by letting the student who had scored second in the exam go first. Usually he would have the student who scored first start the test off, but Midoriya seemed to have a defensive quirk, unsuited for the example he was trying to use. Katsuki Bakugo, however, was more than able to emphasize the quirk aspect by launching the reinforced softball over 800 meters. Of course, Aizawa also had to immediately put the fear of him into the children. He wasn't here to teach them how to have fun. He was here to teach them how to use their quirks, and to reinforce this seriousness. The person who scores last on the exam will be expelled. After the students calmed down, the test truly began. Aizawa paid attention to a couple of students in particular, though. The recommended students, Momo Yayurozu and Shoto Todoroki, the latter of whom seemed to have a mental block of some kind, as he was not using a major part of his quirk to his advantage. Bakugo Katsuki was kept in his mind to his behavior in the exam. These tests confirmed that he was an extremely physical person performing very well, but his aggression also showed. He would likely be a problem. Izuku Midoriya was the last student he watched particularly, for the simple reason that he was in first place in the exam, but didn't have a combat quirk. The boy was barely in the top 10 during these assessments, most of the others being able to augment their performances with their quirks, but he had obviously worked to improve his body, unlike some. Minoru Mineta didn't seem to have worked on himself at all. The very short boy was openly perverted towards the female students, and was subpar in all of the tests. Exempting the side steps, he was creative with his quirk at least. It wasn't long before the tests were finished, and Aizawa's tablet began calculating the scores. In first place came Yayurozu, thanks to her creative quirk use. Midoriya was in a solid 12th, thanks to his physique, and in last place came Mineta. The Hakugare girl had managed 19th place thanks to her getting a higher score in most tests than the grape. As such, the predictable here happened, and Mineta was sent away to Nezu, quote-unquote expelled, but functionally just transferred from the hero course. Aizawa had hoped that there would be an even number of students lacking in heroic will, but now they would have to contend with uneven numbers for the combat tests. They'd make do. With that, the tests were over, and the students all went back to the lockers to prepare for the rest of the day's classes. It was a relatively uneventful test compared to the class-wide expulsion that was Aizawa's previous year, and the students were now very much inclined to take Aizawa seriously. Plus, he was down one potentially compromising hero, and none of the students had discovered his quirk or hero name yet, which would also lead to a bit of fun for Aizawa down the line. Aizawa's relatively relaxed state became spiked with curiosity, however, as he saw All Might divert Midoriya from the rest of the students and bring him into the direction of the main entrance and the shortest route to Nezu's office. Fascinating. Nezu's office was in fact where the master and apprentice duo were headed. On the way, All Might explained his conversation with Nezu about the genie's existence and powers. and how he was going to be giving Izuku an exemption from the rest of the day's classes in order to meet it. The pair arrived at the office to find the rodent-like headmaster sipping tea at his desk, apparently reserving his pop-up antics for adults and emphasis. Whatever the case, Izuku had information he wanted.
Ah, All Might, Midoriya, take a seat, both of you.
The two sat before the desk as the principal pushed his tea to the side.
Now, allow me to get what I know straight here. You alone are currently in possession and command of a potentially omnipotent being and literally world-changing being. Through it, you have solved two major problems to you. Those being the deteriorating health of my friend Toshinori here, and your lack of a quirk, which I'm sure was incredibly satisfying to have changed. Yes, sir. I can't say it wasn't a relief. Believe me when I say that I know how cruel humans can be when confronted with something they don't understand, disapprove of, or feel superior towards. I don't fault you for the wishes you made, but why didn't you think bigger? Like about world peace or poverty, hunger, and cruelty itself? Exactly. I didn't not. I was just acting in the moment, I guess. I didn't even know if the whole thing was real at first. And then, after All Might was healed, I just wanted to be normal and not a useless Deku. And everything else went away. A Deku? It's a nickname. The kanji of my name can be read as Deku. That's not a nickname as much as it is an insult. Maybe. You said that you didn't know if it could be done. Did you ask? No, but the only thing the genie said he had that was infinite was knowledge, which would be necessary to ensure that a wish doesn't go awry. Izuku, I want to speak to the genie. Oh, well, he's at my home right now in his lamp, sleeping, I think. And my mother doesn't know about him, not yet. Is she home? No. Then we can bring him here, maybe. I cannot and will not force you to bring him here. All Might's faith in you tell me quite a bit about your character already, and I don't think you would use a wish for evil. To tell you the truth, my only motivation is true curiosity, and to determine how dumb your mentor was when you first found it.
Hey!
All right.
This sponsor is by Skillshare. With the services Skillshare provides, you can get access to many in-depth tutorial videos on basically anything you want to learn. Each class that they have is bound to help you with your creative endeavors. Do you want to learn how to make videos like this one? Do you want to learn how to write scripts or edit audio? Skillshare has you covered. And with our link, you can have a 14-day free trial. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link now and get 14 days worth of classes free. Link in the description below. The thing about schools is that they need to send you email. So whether Izuku had accompanied All Might and Nezu or not, they still knew his address. The three departed and returned quickly, Izuku going in and out of the house in under a minute, grabbing the lamp. Soon enough, they were back in Nezu's office, and Izuku summoned the genie, who stretched as he floated in the air, awoken once again. Whoa, hello there. Seems we've got a small crowd here this time. Interesting.
Are you capable of answering questions about yourself without expending a wish?
Sure am.
What scale of power are you capable of? Are you able to affect large concepts and societal issues on a world scale?
Straight into it, I see. Well, not really. I already know what concepts and issues you're thinking of, and the answer is no, unfortunately. My power is not limitless, and attempting to manage every minuscule person-to-person aspect of a large concept like world peace isn't feasible. Conflict is driven by resources and cultural animosity or greed for the most part. I would have to nix the concept of want entirely in order to get rid of greed. Then I'd have to create essentially limitless resources and go into the minds of every person who dislikes another person. So, no. And the same idea applies to everything else. There are no isolated concepts, which means I would have to deal with every factor individually, and I just can't.
I see. So I couldn't wish for villains to not exist?
No, I could wish for an individual or a small group to change their ways, but villainy on a whole, as you understand it, well, I couldn't get rid of it.
Fascinating. Why?
Think of me as a tap on a reservoir. But no matter what the wish, I expend exactly a third of the reservoir every time I manifest a wish. If we go off the two I've made here, 1/3 went into healing All Might, while keeping his buff form intact, and also restoring each organ and him to his prime of health.
Wait, but the wish was heal All Might, not restore All Might to his prime.
Well, yes, but aging can also be interpreted as a form of harm. So also restoring him to his prime with the energy I had left after healing his wound. The energy just goes to waste otherwise. I'm not overly efficient. With the second wish, I turned the excess energy from activating Izuku's ability to have a quirk into the quirk itself, its initial energy fill, and ensuring its capability with one for all. It's partially why it needs to recharge, refilling its energy like how I have to refill mine. Yep, and then I'll need to let it all recharge before I can perform any wishes again.
And that will take how long?
Give or take 500 years.
I see. So, you only have 1/3 of your energy left? Getting wishes.
It's a helpful limitation.
What would the limits on the final wish be again?
It would depend, really. Something only up to a group level scale, or bringing a person back.
So it would be impossible to simply fast the lamp, specifically group scale.
Indeed.
Is there a reason for your reiteration of group scale?
Perhaps.
Is it due to the future?
Oh, I can't tell you anything truly specific about the future without a wish.
Interesting.
I have a question. All Might had been silent throughout the conversation, simply listening to the new information while Izuku jotted it down in the notebook he had somehow conjured. But now there was something the genie said that was bothering him. You said that you made Izuku's quirk compatible with One for All, but you didn't give him something to cancel out the potential recoil of my quirk's usage.
Wait! All Might! Principal Nezu!
Already knows, and he has for a long time now. Anyway, Genie, Izuku's quirk may eventually synergize well with One for All's offensive capabilities. But if you didn't mean a quirk that could compensate for the failings of my own, then what does capability mean here? That's something I'm not sure I should tell you yet, spoilers and all that. Plus, the answer is simple enough to find. If, that is, you take a look into the background of your quirk's previous holders. I'm sorry, what? Yes, I think I'll have you find that out yourself. There's more information in that search that will be valuable for you as well. That's not fair. Blame the writer. I'm sorry, what? Well, if that's all for now, I think I will get back to my nap.
This has been very enlightening. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Now, farewell. With that, the genie returned to the lamp. The teachers dismissed Izuku, who returned to deposit the lamp in his locker, which would eventually end up safely under his bed again that evening, before rejoining the rest of his classmates. When a couple of hours, the first day of class had ended, and the second day of UA classes would soon begin. The next day's highlight had all of the students extremely excited. The heroics class, taught by All Might, would happen soon. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that ittsslittt has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description, so feel free to check out all the incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of ittsslittt, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video. So goodbye and have a divine day.